Hello folks, this is Dr. Da Vinci, and today I'm going for a walk and actually will be sharing with you how to remove negative forces or demons from your life. So I decided to film this as I'm going for walks. It's a nice exercise plus a good topic to help you, all of you who are dealing with negative energy, conflicts in their family. If you're going through a divorce, that's all stems from none other than the demonic force. So I'm going to be actually sharing with you what you can do to help sort of resolve the issue, minimize the issue, and completely heal yourself of all negative forces in this universe. My business partner, Dr. Wilson, and I, we actually have several offices, several labs in the US, on the East Coast, in the Midwest, and on the West Coast. And we specialize in essentially prolonging the healthy lifespan of a human life. And we have very specialized equipment that records paranormal activity, paranormal such as the exit and entry of negative forces or demons in folklore. But today I'm going to share with you practical tips, what to do in the nature, basically if you're walking around, what you can do to sort of heal yourself, heal your soul, heal your body, heal your spirit of all those demonic negative assaults. So let me share with you. See the trees over here, it's getting already dark, but the trees represent the connection to Mother Earth. Mother Earth is here to protect us, and it is here to feed us. It feeds us, it protects us from negative radiation, gamma radiation from the open cosmos, the outer space, and the solar winds, enormous solar bursts that would actually kill off half of the population. So as you walk around, if you see any trees that are this is very advanced information, by the way. This is for the 1%ers, less than 1%ers that can actually bear this information, who could comprehend this information. But as I'm walking around, I'll show you that I noticed one of the tree was actually hurt. Some evil person broke off a limb, and I decided to heal it. And so I had, as you can see, I'm going to point some light here, it's getting dark in this part of the park. This green rag that you see over there is actually an improvised version. That tree was broken in half in a very crudest way, as if, let's say, if instead of doing, let's say, dental work, if you had your teeth extracted, normally it's done under anesthetic with proper medical equipment. Or, somebody could just hit you in the mouth and break all of your teeth. So this is what they've done to this tree, for no reason at all. No reason at all. And I decided to heal it. I didn't have anything on me as far as any particular bandages or tools, so I just decided to materialize. I was absolutely certain that this particular rag will appear, and surely enough, 5 minutes into my walk, I told the tree I would be right back, and I actually brought in this, whatever this cloth is, and I've essentially salvaged the situation. And so now the tree is thankful to me for doing that, because the tree is connected to, remember, Mother Earth. Mother Earth is here to protect us, and the tree, actually, they communicate to you. So I'm here to tell you about notice. In a few more days, this tree will be healed and well, and this is a cycle of life. We help them and they help us. So the tree, actually, they do communicate in a very subtle language, and this language is something that we cannot audibly hear. Obviously, it's a different level of communication, but it is there. It's not English, it's not Japanese, it's not French. It's another level of communicating. Among our not idols, not heroes, but influencers, was Edgar Cayce of Kentucky, USA. You can Google him, Edgar Cayce, Kentucky, and you will learn a lot about how he pioneered in the field of connecting to that other hidden reality. And so Edgar Cayce had a pure heart. How do I know this? Because all of his money that he generated from his clients who paid him money to get healing and just advice, he bought pear trees. He was crazy about pear trees, or any trees, but particularly pear trees. So he would buy grows that he would personally plant pear trees. So that tells a lot about a human being. You know, he didn't buy expensive houses, he didn't buy mansions, even though he could afford them. He simply invested into what he loved the most. So why am I bringing this up? Because trees have a very, 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 very important connection to us. That tree that I've just showed you, that I've healed, the reason why I showed it to you with this video camera is I want you to see what you can do to help other people and even trees. Yes, because they're an extension of our planet, our Mother Earth. And so by doing an act of kindness to another human being, a vagabond that's asking for money on the street, or a tree that's been kind of broken or hurt and neglected, you are doing a tremendous, tremendous work in the global scheme of things. Let me illustrate. You might tell me, well, Dr. Da Vinci, you know, all those people who ask for money on the street, those homeless people, they're just actors. They want your money. They want your money just to go buy some drugs and alcohol and cigarettes. Well, you might be right. You might be. Again, listen, I'm saying you might be right. But what if you're wrong? But what if it's just a displaced individual that just unshaven and doesn't look the par as a, let's say, quote unquote normal society, and they feel down and they need your help? Then you would be what? Rejecting and refusing to help another human soul? Well, you might be right. There might be some actors who are just on drugs, especially in LA and in Seattle, Washington. It's really a devastating situation. Go on YouTube after you watch this video and just type in "Seattle is dying," just like that, 3 words, Seattle is dying, and you will see the most brilliantly done documentary film that I've ever seen on the most devastating situation in Seattle, Washington, where you see drug addicts all over the place, syringes, needles, and drugs just laying everywhere on the streets of Seattle, Washington. It's catastrophic, and the same thing is happening even more so in Los Angeles, California. But anyway, that's an internal problem. I'm slightly off the tangent here. Let me get back on topic about how we must help others, regardless if you think they're out there to get a few dollars of yours and buy some beer or alcoholic drinks or cigarettes or drugs. We don't know that. And see, our purpose, once you elevate your soul and once you get your head out of the gutter, see, our purpose is to help others. And this tree, and they all speak a different language. You know, animals, they have their own language. When you notice the behavior of, let's say, dogs or cats, when they bark, they're trying to warn the master that there's some danger present. But among themselves, they normally communicate silently. So you see that there's that telepathic communication that's present. And you see, so that means, by the way, we are, Dr. Wilson and I, we're first and foremost, we're linguists, then we're men of science. And so we speak every language on the planet, and we studied all the way down to the Akkadian language, which was the most ancient language known to science, to linguistics. And we've traced back another language that's even more ancient than Akkadian. But to those of you who speak, foreign languages, I'll teach you how to improve your linguistic skills and how to get to the next level and speak every language on the planet, because there's a root upon which every language is based, and there's a code. Especially, there's Roman languages, Slavic language, etc., etc., etc. And so I'm going to get back to that subject probably in a separate video. But today I want to share with you actually the reason why we must help our fellow man, the trees, the animals, is because we're all one. This tree, if I were to attempt to translate what it was saying while it was hurting, it was literally asking me for help. If I could translate it into English, which is impossible, but if I could attempt to sort of duplicate its frequency and saying, it was saying, why me? Why this evil person is hurting me? Why nobody cares? Why the evil human race is so evil? I immediately, of course, came up and I tended to its wounds, and I said, I'll be right back. I'll find a bandage and I'll be back. You know, keep in mind, that bandage was materialized out of practically thin air, just like when Jesus pulled out some coins from a boot that was in the river. Remember when they had to pay taxes, and he said, you know, throw out your nets, and they pulled out something, and there was 12 coins, silver coins, or something of that nature. The point is, as long as you're not interested in your personal enrichment, it's not that, because it's the false mentality of the capitalistic West that keeps feeding down your throats garbage. As long as you're doing it for the good, things will materialize. I needed a bandage, it appeared. Within less than 5 minutes of me walking, I would say 2 minutes of me walking around, I found this. Perfectly fine, whatever it was, you know, here in this park. And I used it for that good purpose. Now, back on topic. Why should we do that? Because you see, let me open up the ISO so you can actually see this park a little bit better, if I can even do that. Okay, folks, I decided to move the camera back in kind of a well-lit area in the park so you could at least see something instead of the black picture. And I'm going to continue where I left off. So what I was saying is that that little green rag materialized itself because my intentions were pure. I was trying to help a tree. And this is a fine line, even in this reality we live in. So if I had a egoistical, selfish desire to get a pile of cash, dollar bills, you know, American crisp, clean dollars, would have worked? Well, yes, technically, but it would not have worked because once you are on a certain spiritual level, you don't need money. You see, all of your needs are met, and you're not even focused. You're not poisoned by the drunken mixture that they give you on television and TV this in the West. You know, that you have to make more money, more, bigger car, bigger house. This is all insanity, folks. I hope you understand this. If you don't, turn off this channel. It's not for you. This is for the 1%ers who are trying to, you know, lead spiritual lives, to try to elevate their spirits, try to become more spiritual and connected to the divine, you know, to the frequency of God is what we call it in our office. The frequency of God is when you can be in perfect harmony with yourself, number one, with your family, number two, with your neighbors, with nature, with animals, with everyone in the cosmos. Avoiding the demon possessed, which I'm going to actually cover how to get rid of the demons if you picked up one from real life situation here. So, and then I'm going to share with you the linguistic tips. As I mentioned, Dr. Wilson and I were also linguists, and we've discovered the root of all languages. It goes beyond the Akkadian language, which is today considered the most ancient language on earth. So let's get back to the materializing of something that I needed for the tree. I had no doubt. I had nothing on me but my keys. I was just going for a walk in this park. During the day, it's a lovely place, and there are no, you know, there's nothing here other than just, you know, little paths to walk on. So, but I saw that green rag. I said, thank goodness, thank God, thank you, Lord. You know, it's what I needed for the tree. So I applied a little branch. You saw that there's an additional little twig or branch that I applied to it to reinforce the structure, and then I wrapped that green rag around the broken branch, and it thanked me on that spiritual language. It thanked me, and I did it for the tree, to show the tree that there are some human beings who are still on the frequency of God, who can do good, who can understand good, and who would never hurt another living creature or another organism. And so, back to the demon possession, folks. This is a huge topic that we're being bombarded by email questions a lot. You know, people who have friends, relatives, and who always drain them of their energy, who are going through divorce, constant fights, verbal or physical fights. Remember, folks, every single conflict is instigated by the dark side, by the demonic force. And I'm here recording this video in the park while I was walking earlier to show you the practical methodology how to avoid it or how to get rid of it. And so here's what you need to do. You need to first of all pray, meditate, and then walk in nature, talk to animals, talk to trees. How can you talk to trees? I will try to explain if you've never done this before. If you're not on that elevated level, I will attempt to bring it to sort of an English basis so you can have an idea, a reference point at least. You sort of lean on the tree with one of your hands if you don't want to appear weird to other people, so that they, quote unquote, they won't think you're weird. You sort of lean on the tree as if you're just leaning on a street light, on the street pole. And you just stand there for a few minutes and you talk to the tree. You ask for forgiveness, number one, that we'll use those trees for making paper, for heating up our buildings and industries, you know, all that nonsense that we haven't found another ways of doing that, you know, as if there's no other ways. We have to kill living beings for that. Much less, you know, we have it as another topic, industries, you know. CAFO industries, you know, it's just unbelievable. So back to the topic of connecting with nature. You lean on the tree, you talk to it, you ask for forgiveness, you tell it in English, if you speak English or any other language that you speak, that we're not all the same, we're not evil. And you thank it for giving us oxygen, and you thank it for taking our stress away. You simply tell to the tree, thank you, tree, for taking our stress away. And the tree will take all of your stress and negative energy into Mother Earth, into the ground. So you will be completely healed and centered after about 5-minute session of connecting to the tree. That's right. That's their healing power. And if you do it regularly, you will not have any negative energy in your life, for sure. So that's the short version of what to do about removing the negative energy from your life, from your body. You should do this repeatedly, constantly. I'll give you an example. I talked to a family member a few months ago, and he is demon possessed. He doesn't know it. He's smart, he's sharp, but he's extremely negative constantly. I would say 150% of the time is more negative than anything. Not just negative, we're talking about a very aggressive, evil spirit that's in him. And, you know, of course, I'm always open to help, but there's very little sometimes that I can do, because the entity sometimes could be so powerful that it can overpower you and turn off your electricity, so to speak, in your body. And after an hour-and-a-half conversation with him over the phone, thank goodness it was a remote conversation, it was, you know, thousands of miles apart. By the way, you don't want to be near a person that's demon-possessed. I mean, you'll be dead after that. Not necessarily physically, but I'm saying they'll drain you of everything. But on the phone, it's the second best thing. So you could have an idea, but then they get inside of you and you're done too, as if you were physically there. It's a little bit better to have a distance, physical distance, but he got to me, so I failed. me, the expert on demonology and positive energy and negative energy. Yeah, after an hour and a half, we were both, started to raise our voices at each other. And at the end, while I was hanging up the phone, I said, I've tried. I did my very best. I can't help you. We can't go on. I've tried my very best. And then he tried to call me twice the next day, trying to reestablish contact, which is, by the way, you never do that, because they'll try to use some kind of excuse and a ploy to be more civil with you, just to tap into your energy level again. Then you're done. Anyway, it took me a few months to come out of that spiritual coma, so to speak, through meditation, prayer, and what I just shared with you. And this is just an example how what you might be experiencing. And if you're experiencing the same thing, conflicts at work, with your family members, friends, you can't sleep, you can't do that. Not that I couldn't sleep, I'm just saying I was drained pretty heavily, okay, after that conversation and during the conversation. But overall, it was okay. It was just kind of a heavy feeling and just constant drain. I felt like the energy was flowing into him, and from him into that demonic spirit, that entity. And right now it's all clear. So he's suffering, he's looking for his next victim, so to speak, and that's what you should be aware of. They're constantly looking for their next victim to drain of their energy. So if you have an experience like that, every conflict starts with a demonic instigation, a spirit that we cannot see with our physical eyes, and that comes out and sort of solicits, who's looking for the victim. So every physical fight, every verbal fight, every war starts with, there are different hierarchies, of course, in the kingdom of demons. So some of them start wars, some of them start push somebody to become a homosexual or a pedophile. Another one pushes somebody to become a cannibal. Another one pushes somebody to become a liar. Another one pushes somebody to become a cheater. Another one pushes somebody to become a street fighter. That's a category, actually. Those who are not necessarily kind of sort of bullies, but if you ever lived in a big city, there's a lot of guys out there that are just not just for the sake of proving themselves, but you just want to pick fights. That's demon possession, 100%, 100%. And if you're under the divine protection, you can resist that. You just look them straight in the eyes, and besides the fact that you're not appearing weak, that's the first thing they're testing for. You are actually, if you are protected, then you will be protected. You're walking through them and they cannot touch you. That's been tested many, many times, many times. I flew all over the country, and some of the places you don't walk out, alive. And so anyway, that's just to give you an idea of how the structure is on the other side. Some of the equipment that we have, myself and Dr. Wilson, my business partner, that we record demonic entities entering and exiting human beings. And upon that entry and exit, we've actually calculated that it happens at a particular time. Let me give you an example. I'm actually divorced on my second marriage. And during my first divorce, while we were going through with my ex-wife, every time we had a verbal fight at home, I would leave, go to, let's say, my favorite restaurant, just to be by myself and have some dinner, and just sort of keep the distance. Remember, it's a demonic force. 100% classic example between the spouses when they fight at home. Now listen to this. This is not from some book. This is from my real life example, real life story here. I would go to a restaurant. Now get this, and this cute waitress, every single time I had a fight with my wife at the time, this cute waitress would slip her phone number on a note with her phone number and home address, and says, we're having a party tonight, and an after party, and then some. You're invited. She's cute. She's seen me many times. She never, that shouldn't have happened. And exactly, precisely at these moments when I was having these fights with my wife at the time, I was getting these, you might call them temptations, but whatever you want to call them, the opportunities were abound. Opportunities kept happening and presenting themselves to me. And of course, you might be asking, Dr. Da Vinci, did you take advantage of those opportunities? No, I was smarter than that. I already knew there was that reality, because I was actually discussing it with my wife. I said, look, we're being torn apart by the invisible forces. She says, yeah, what can we do? I said, well, we had a plan of action, but we could not hold it together. We were too young and maybe perhaps not dedicated enough. But if you're dedicated enough, or if you're going through that, feel free to write to me and I'll help you as much as I can as far as giving you some kind of word of wisdom or guidance how to resist that evil force based on my experience and the experience of Dr. Wilson that we've experienced and we've gained. The experience that we've gained over the years is tremendous. How to actually resist that force from influencing in your life, how to keep that force from actually making changes in your life, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. You'll be richly blessed. And so what else can I add to this? So the force is real. It's not folklore, folks. It's real. It happened in my first marriage. It happened on many other different occasions. And if you ever experienced a massive sort of a disaster or a car accident or a murder on the street, if somebody got killed, you know, a split second right before it happens, your soul gets this sort of a assessment of the situation, split second, and you realize something is bad about to happen, but there's nothing you can do about it. It's too late. It's about to happen, and you freeze in space. Even though we're talking about a fraction of a second, you can't get out of the place. You have a bad premonition for about 0.0005 seconds before it happens. Well, that's when those evil entities materialize. They possess a certain individual and cause that individual to do their bidding and to do something that they want them to do. That's too late. That's sort of predestined history. We're talking about Hermetic reality. Hermes, look him up. You know, what's above, so is below. It's the cause and effect type of a relationship. If you don't know this phrase, you really are missing out in life. What's above, as it is above, so it is below. So look it up, this phrase, if you don't know about it. Again, this program is for, I decided to record it while I'm walking in the park of all places. Serious topic, but it is not for everyone. It's for the 1%ers who are quite advanced, or those who want to become spiritually advanced. And I will be doing more of this. Very, very important topics, some things that you'll never learn anywhere else. We're talking about 30 years of experience dealing with this, filming this, examining this, using specialized equipment. And I'd like to conclude by saying, folks, the bottom line is this. The bottom line in this thing called life. We come from a certain reality, an eternity past. We are in this eternally physical world, eternity present, and we're going into eternity future. And we have a short time, very, very short time, because of this cannot go on, forever. And so our life is nothing. If we only live here for 50, 60, 70, 90 years, it's nothing. It's like one breath when you compare it against the eternal clock. And my suggestion to you is start connecting with the divine within. Not organized religion, but the divine within. I'm not preaching the Wiccan religion or none of that nonsense. I'm talking about your true self, the language that I told you, Dr. Wilson and I, we've discovered that upon all other languages are essentially structured. That's the language of the Spirit, the original language. There's nothing beyond that. And just to prove to you, I'm going to demonstrate how you can actually learn the language, and then you can speak all other languages based on that, with a slight deviation in pronunciation. But the point is, all other languages are connected. And if you speak other languages, if you recognize what I'm saying, it will be just a short phrase. I'm saying thank you in multiple languages here, but if you recognize it, you will see that that's the key that we have learned artificially. We've tapped into this sort of a enclosed reality, distant reality that's within us. It's like a DNA code within us with all of the information for everything that we need to have and want to have. There's something moving towards me. I'm not sure what that is, that animal. You might see it on the camera. Let me enlarge. Good thing we have a zoom here. Something moving towards me. Just a second. I want to see what the hell this is. You see it? Yeah, it's right there. Looks like a, God only knows what the hell this is. Looks, could be a cat, could be a raccoon. Anyway, I got distracted by some raccoon. Do you see? You got to keep focused, folks. You got to be focused. Let me zoom out and then I'll continue here for you so that you have a full picture of what's possible. What's possible is for you. I'm not preaching any type of prosperity, mentality. That's a bunch of nonsense from Joel Osteen. These satanic beings and my God, it's unbelievable how demonic those people are. They're just demons in wearing sheep's clothing, or wolves wearing sheep's clothing, essentially. What we're preaching here, quote unquote preaching, is scientific knowledge about who we are, what's possible, and what's possible is living in peace and harmony, and knowing all the languages in the universe, and all the languages on the planet, of course, and having a divine itinerary, divine schedule, being on this frequency of God that we call it, understanding the language of not only humans, all humans, but also trees and animals. It's a beautiful language. Cannot be compared to the human language, of course, as you can imagine. But anyway, here is the encore presentation of saying thank you. Merci, gracias, shukran, danke, sheshe, danavad, shukriya, arigato, spasiba, evcharisto, chvala, grazie, dziękuję, благодаря, шноракалуцун, дякую, тешакура дарим, obrigado, камсахамнида, мультимеск, paldies, dziękuję, благодарам, ачу, danke, дякую, toda, mahalo, shukrani, tak, danak, danke, bayarlala, terimakashish, kopun, dolch, gibonga, tote, goy, asante. And folks, on this note, I'd like to sort of conclude and tell you that miracles are simply, they're possible, they're simply an event that cannot be rationalized or explained rationally. And what I just shared with you, I showed you the tree that I've healed. I found a little green rag that was laying just, I don't know, 100 yards away from the tree that I was certain I'm going to find is an example of that miracle. Of, number one, me even paying attention to try to help the tree. Number two, finding the rag to help the tree that simply appeared. And I believe that you should not use that for finding money. And while I'm saying this, if you're on a certain level, first of all, you will not be even thinking about money. It's dirt, it's scum that is stuck in your memory from your everyday type of what you watch on television, from your upbringing where it's all about the money, it's me. Did you know that the most common present today in Los Angeles, California, to high school graduates, young girls that graduate from high school, their parents, well, especially more or less well-to-do middle class, upper middle class families, they give them the breast augmentation surgery as a gift from graduating from high school. Can you just comprehend the darkness of that event? Young girls are getting a boob job for graduating from high school, besides getting a car or something like that. So in other words, we're talking about we're breeding demons as a society in the West, in North America at least, and so is the Western Europe. In the East, people look at us and they shake their heads and they say, "This is unbelievable what is happening in America." And by the way, speaking of the school shootings, why do you think they're so rampant right now? These teenagers who shoot each other at schools in America. Why do you think, let's say, using traditional language, God allows school shootings in America? Think about it. It's a sign of the times. It's the zeitgeist that says there's something wrong with our society. We've turned our back on God, on nature, on each other, and now it's a reversal. We're going down the toilet, to put it mildly. We're going down into the, toilet pipe with all the sewage in it, because what you sow, you shall reap. And we're reaping the results of this massive decades of propaganda of enriching your, lining up your pockets, enriching yourself, and selfish behavior. That's what we have. And as a result of that, 98% of the population in the West is demon possessed. That's why the message for you folks, if you look around, if you live in North America, if you live in the United States, and even Canada, you're probably surrounded by people who are demon possessed on a not such a dramatic scale. So you can't see that they're possessed because their mouth is they have white foam at the mouth. No, they don't foam at the mouth, but at the same time, it's their energy that they operate on constantly. Women don't respect men, even though we are supposedly, that's biblical, the head of the household. Children do not respect parents, even though they must respect parents. That's like the foundation of any society, not even biblical. We're talking about, just basics. In any country, they know that. In America, children actually manipulate parents. If you don't do this, I'm going to call family services, and then they're going to become the property of the state. They're going to be raised by the state. Fuck that. Why don't you do that? Why don't you just, the system must be disassembled. It's broken to the degree that it cannot be fixed anymore. It's so polluted, so dark, that the only thing that will save us, I'm sad to say this, but a big, huge earthquake that's about to happen somewhere in California, Mount Soledad area, which is 10 minutes north of San Diego, in the near future, sometime possibly this summer, this year, later in the fall. And when that happens, that entire coastal line of California will be detached from the continent, will be washed away. And that tsunami wave will devour both, of course, Hawaii and Japan. It will be catastrophic, because if you imagine, during 9/11 in 2001, 2 buildings fell and the entire country came to a halt, financially, economically, and you name it, and socially. 2 buildings, actually 3. There was a building number 7, for those of you who didn't pay attention, they didn't notice it. But there was one building that was filmed, building number 7, 48-story skyscraper in New York City. That was the 3rd tallest building on the plaza. Fell by itself on its own, nothing hit it. So it must have been pre-wired, folks. It was just accidentally filmed by a reporter. The camera just caught it. But otherwise, nobody was supposed to even know it fell in that sort of chaotic. Why that building fell? Well, because there were a lot of important documents stored in that building. CIA documents, the core documents, the bankruptcy documents, WorldCom, MCI, that was the biggest long-distance scam at the time. MCI, WorldCom, research it. All that disappeared. All the criminal cases disappeared. And so it was a very important, for some people, object to remove from this planet. And they pre-wired it. That's probably the whole shebang, But the point, people are stupid. People don't pay attention. They're just dumb as could be. Just preoccupied with their selfish ambitions for making a buck. Like Mark Twain once said, when he went to London, he was asked, Mr. Twain, by the way, his real name was Samuel Clemens, it was never Mark Twain. It was just a pen name or pseudonym. And so, Mr. Twain, how would you describe American sort of a growing up in America lifestyle? He said, well, I'm trying to duplicate his accent here, his Missouri accent. He was born in Florida, Missouri, which is in Monroe County. And at the age of 6, then he moved to Quincy. People think he's from Hannibal, Missouri, but it's actually Florida, Missouri, which is a hamlet of about 200 people, which is nothing there. But anyway, so he grew up seeing, near a hardware store in his community in Florida, Missouri, where people would just buy everything, food and all other things. And many people will try to steal things. And in those days, you were caught stealing, you were beaten to a pulp right there by the store owner, with his bare hands. And so young Mark Twain would observe how many people, shoplifters, were beaten to a pulp by that store owner over nothing. Basically they were just starving and they were trying to steal a loaf of bread for the children. And the store owner would literally, practically, almost kill them on the spot, outside of the store, of course. And so, having witnessed that, it probably put a lot of traumatized young Samuel Clemens. And so, at his speech in London, he said, well, America is a country of petty shoplifters who would sell their own mother if the price was right. You know, translation, basically, everybody's so focused on the profit and this and dollars, making money and commerce, that human decency and the human factor is removed. Meaning, you would rather kill somebody for a loaf of bread because he tried to steal it from you to feed his family than just, maybe ask him, maybe he could repay you back, or he could just work it out somehow. And Mark Twain was traumatized by that, witnessing that when he was growing up in Monroe County, Missouri, which is only 45 minutes, by the way, if you're picturing that. 45 minutes west on I-70 towards outside of St. Louis. If you drive on I-70, west of outside of St. Louis, that's where Mark Twain grew up, or Samuel Clemens. So anyway, a tidbit of trivia here for you. But on a much more important note, folks, remember, we are eternal beings. Let's not forget about who we are, what we're doing here. Let's connect. If you have any questions, write to us. We would be happy to guide you through your most difficult times, especially if you're going through a divorce. If you have cancer, if you have fibromyalgia, if you have any other diseases, they can be cured with our methodology. It's all natural. If you have SMA, all of that could be cured. All of it could be cured naturally. There is no need for drugs. We have an all-natural sort of a approach to healing your bodies and your souls and your spirituality. So you'll be truly happy. So on this note, I want to thank you for your time, for watching this improvised, I'm going to move the camera a little bit, improvised in the park type of video. God bless you richly. I wish you all the best. And most importantly, I will be doing more of these episodes as I'll be taking my walks in the park. Take care, God bless, and write to us if you need anything at all. We'll write you back. Take care.